You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we're ignoring our own magazine in FAB Facts.
A fuel tanker is making a dog's dinner of things in the Randomiser.
And it's me having a chat with David Quilter.
Ooh, more you. That's all coming up in Pod 210.
Calling all cars of the SPA Gerry Anderson podcast.
That's quite a long intro.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
It's the Gerry Anderson Podcast. It's been a while since I did that.
You have not done that for a wee while, so that's very exciting. Thank you for bringing that back. Is that all in the age of summer?
It could be, couldn't it? Because it's a scorcher today as we record this.
It is well scorchy. My name is Jamie Anderson, by the way. No, let's not go there.
No, sorry,
who are you?
Well, I'm still Richard James. And who's that over there?
Well, sat in that glorious wicker chair, dressed apparently as the White Guardian from Doctor Who, the Key to Time thing.
Suit. Yeah.
I know, and being fanned by two very glamorous-looking humans there. It's Chris Dale. Well, he's obviously found a way to keep cool today.
Yeah, don't blame him. Yeah, he looks very smart.
Nice. He's perpetually cool in both ways, I would say.
That's true. Yeah, it is true. And we're just the hangers-on, really, aren't we?
The Klingons, you might say. So when Chris is finished with his cooling off period, he'll be joining us for the Randomiser, where he randomly selects a random episode of a random Gerry Anderson show and says fantastic, fascinating, insightful and hilarious things all at once sometimes. But before then, we'll be filling up your time and your ears, be they clammy or not, with other nonsense, and Richard will describe those nonsense things now.
Yes, they're particularly clammy today, I have to say, in this heat.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we've got some news from the Gerry Anderson universe, of course, coming up a little later on. We've got FAB Facts any minute now, Jamie's favourite part of the podcast, of course. And we've got emails, tweets and Facebook and YouTube musings from our wonderful Podsterons, that's you at home, who've been emailing us in at podcast@gerryanderson.com and commenting on our Facebook group, the official Gerry Anderson Podcast listeners group, and have been hashtagging us Gerry Anderson Podcast on Twitter and commenting on our YouTube channel. I'll be reading all those out later. Plus, had the wonderful opportunity to sit down with my old Space Precinct colleague, David Quilter. So we'll be hearing the first part of my interview with him a little later on.
Dear old Sergeant Fredo.
That's right, yes. And many other parts beside. I think he played two other roles for, I think Alan Birkinshaw was one of the directors. And can't remember who else. Who directed Hate Street, Jamie?
I don't
want to say Piers Haggard. I'm going to say it was Piers Haggard. So yes, he played another part for Piers Haggard. Yeah,
pretty convincing to me. Yes.
I mean, it's the only place you can come where we discuss, the finer minutiae of who directed which episode of Space Precinct and who played what role. Where else can you go and hear that?
Unless there's a Space Precinct podcast somewhere that I don't know about, and I doubt there is, and there shouldn't be. I don't think.
Well, I suspect if there were a Space Precinct podcast, you wouldn't know about it.
No.
You know what I mean?
Now, mentioning Space Precinct, I'm just letting you in on a little secret. I mean, Chris Dale would tell you this himself, but obviously he's now too busy sipping his mimosa over there.
He is, yes.
So Chris went to Germany to a big Star Trek con out there a couple of weeks ago. And when he was there at one of the collectibles stalls, he spotted a very rare copy of Space Precinct Deity Father.
Well, yes. Great.
And, most excitingly of all, by the end of the weekend, it had sold.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he had read it.
No, it had sold to somebody else. So, Even abroad, Space Precinct has a following, or somebody needed, something to prop the door open.
Exactly.
Maybe that was what they used the book for.
More like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never read. There was a 2 or 3, I think, weren't there? I've never read any of them.
Yeah, he and I were trying to remember the names the other day, but I'm afraid they mostly escaped me.
Seb Bird would know.
Yes, Seb, if you're listening,
He's
please email in.
Shouting now.
podcast@GerryAnderson.com. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's go from unknown unknowns to a soon-to-be known in this week's Fab Facts.
I think that makes sense.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Fab Facts. Richard James's absolute favourite part of the entire podcast.
Yeah.
It's not the case?
No, it is. Sorry, my mind was elsewhere for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Anywhere but Fab Facts, yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
well, unfortunately, you're stuck in Fab Facts. Well, I've got a book of Fab Facts. I'm going to flick it for you now, just as a little warm-up sound. Oh, sounds good, doesn't it?
Lovely.
And in my book of Fab Facts, well, there are many Fab Facts. So many, in fact, that the only way to choose a Fab Fact is to flick through the pages, and Richard, at a random point, will shout the word Fab, which is my cue to stop flicking, and then I will happen upon a page with a randomly picked Fab Fact. How does that sound to everyone? Great,
is that the only way to do it?
Unfortunately, for this segment, it is. So prepare your Fab, because I'm ready to flick. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Fab.
Ooh. Now.
Yeah.
You see what you've done here? You see,
What
well,
did
not
I
what
do?
you've done. Well, I've got a clammy thumb today because it's very hot. So we've ended up skipping quite a way through the book of Fab Facts, and then your low Fab caught me by surprise. So,
right. Okay.
because of that, we've got something slightly unusual. Now, Podsterons, as you all know, here on the Gerry Anderson podcast, we are big fans of all of you enjoying your favourite shows with no judgment whatsoever.
Sure.
If you want to watch Lavender Castle and The Protectors and nothing else, then that is absolutely fine by us.
Yeah. Sounds
In
good.
fact, you could watch nothing but the 2004 version of Thunderbirds.
Through
and
gritted
that
teeth.
is also perfectly okay. No problem at all.
Yeah, great.
Now, one person who would have judged you, though, is American film critic Roger Ebert. I think I'm saying his name right there.
Yes. He sounds
Now,
like a rather grand bird, doesn't he?
An Ebert, yes. Roger was a film reviewer at the Chicago Sun-Times from 1967 until his death in 2013. And he became very popular due to a successful television show and his catchphrase, 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah?
Right, yes.
However, Ebert gave 2 thumbs down to the Jonathan Frakes directed Thunderbirds film.
Oh, no.
Now, well, you say oh no, but no surprise there really, because many people seem to agree that the film was a disappointment, and that's putting it
but
mildly.
both thumbs down.
Well, maybe. However, Ebert may have gone too far when he went beyond criticising the film and criticised Thunderbirds fans and Thunderbirds itself.
Oh, you don't do that. He's crossed a line.
Well, here's what he said.
Oh, no.
I had never heard of the series, and, let's face it, neither have you.
What? That's a
Which is
bit
what he wrote.
presumptuous.
Before moving on to describe fans of any futuristic puppet show as kooky yo-yos.
Okay.
What a
Right.
phrase.
Well, I think we should reclaim that phrase and put it on T-shirts everywhere.
Hashtag kooky yo-yos. Now, while Mr. Ebert was, of course, entitled to his opinion, it should be pointed out that if he had never heard of Thunderbird, it seems likely that he should have done so, since in September 1967, the Chicago Sun-Times featured Thunderbirds on its front cover of its weekly TV supplement, TV Preview.
Okay.
So, seeing as he worked there since that point, he should have seen it. The date is significant because it's just a few short months after he began his career at the same newspaper. So he's got no excuse, or he had no
Well,
excuse.
I tell you, well, he does have an excuse, frankly. So, as an actor, when you get a script, you just read your bits, okay? So, if he's a film critic and he gets a copy of his paper every day, he's just going to read his bit.
Which he's already read because he wrote it. Yeah, okay. Anyway, presumably he must have had other things on his mind and was just too busy to notice that Thunderbirds was proving to be a popular programme in the Chicago area. So no judgment here.
All right.
You can read Roger Ebert's review in full at rogerebert.com.
Okay.
So, yeah. Wow.
All right. Well,
I mean, I'm not sure it's necessary at any point to describe fans of any show as kooky yo-yos.
No.
But I'm very happy if we'd like to reclaim it, Podsterons.
Well,
what do you think?
I mean, it's a way to alienate your audience, isn't it? To insult them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I suppose if he's saying the film was rubbish, then he's not trying to exactly connect with his audience, is he?
No, that's right. Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, it's a perennial problem, though, isn't it? It's a perennial problem for any, let's say, older, young at heart adult who still enjoys things that either they watched as a child or they've discovered in later life and enjoy anyway. It's a perennial problem, isn't it, to have to justify why they watch any particular programme. We come across it all the time. It's a shame.
Yeah, but you don't have to justify it. Just enjoy it.
No,
just enjoy it and have a nice time.
Exactly. Of course. But sometimes you feel you have to, don't you?
Yeah.
Other people.
Well,
it's always other people. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Podsterons, even if you love Joe 90, I still don't think you're a kooky yo-yo.
Wow.
So
I mean,
how's
that's the
that?
closest we're going to get, isn't it, to some sort of rapprochement between you and Joe 90.
And
saying
so,
you don't mind if other people enjoy it.
No, because I've already said that. And also, I do quite like International Concerto. So,
Yes. Okay, fair
there
enough.
we are. And at the concert, as I'm sure you'll agree, the Joe 90 theme was very cool.
Oh,
sounded great.
Brilliant. Too right. Yeah.
So there you
right.
go.
In fact, and the other best one, of course, was Terrorhawk. So both those series, not without their detractors, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
But musically, both of those themes were fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to go off and watch those in a bit.
Yes.
More of that in the news shortly.
See you salivating, yes.
Anyway, so Kooky Yo-Yos, that brings us to the end, I suppose, of this week's
Judgmental Fact.
Oh, I went for Kooky. There we go.
That's much better. That's good. Yeah, I do hope to see that hashtag. Come on, someone post something. I tell you what, why not, if you're on Twitter, head on over to Twitter now and tell us your favourite Gerry Anderson series and show. Just put the title, or I love, whatever it might be, and then hashtag it. No, why not say this? I love, insert name here, and I don't care who knows it. Hashtag Kooky Yo-Yos. How's that?
KOOKYYOYOS. Yes.
Great. There you go. Well, I look forward to seeing those. In the meantime, I look forward to reading some of these emails that I'm about to read. Anyway, this, for example, says hello. And that's from Pascal Lefebvre, who's a lifelong Ander fan, who says, hello, years ago, I was watching TV in Japan when I saw a short subject about a man and his car troubles. As you know, parking space is at a premium in Tokyo. You're required to have a parking space in order to own a car there. The story was about a man who had a garage so small his car couldn't fit in. When parked, a third of his car was sticking out, and the clearance on the sides was a few centimetres. The only way he could get in his car was through the tailgate, crawling his way to the driver's seat. Of course, the clip showing him doing that had the Thunderbirds theme as background music.
Of course. How could it not?
That's right. Pascal says the Gerry Anderson shows, and Thunderbirds in particular, really are part of the Japanese pop culture. P.S.
Yes.
After a brief period, there was a Thunderbirds cafe, or rather for a brief period, there was a Thunderbirds cafe in Tokyo. Would you like me to send you the pictures I took? Well, I suggest, why not join our Facebook page, Pascal, and pop the pictures up there, because I'm sure we'd all love to see them.
Absolutely. Well, I went there, didn't I, to the Tokyo Thunderbirds Cafe.
Great.
And it was lovely.
Yeah. Nice.
Sadly not there anymore, I don't think.
Now, this is from Ambassador Paul Hyde, as he is now known to us all, of course, on the Isle of Wight.
Yes, of course.
It says, hello, Ambassador Paul Hyde here. Hope you chaps are well. You see how he's gone all sort of militaristic in his...
all grand, yeah.
Come on, chin up now. It's like a lineup, isn't it, when they have all the, inspection of the guards. While in the bath, he says, listening to the podcast this week, I feel I need to reply to a chap called Dean, as he was going on about the Isle of Wight and Spectrum. Oh, yes, I vaguely remember that sort of rather circuitous email. Yeah, well, funny that he was going on about it, says Ambassador Paul. There is a company on the island that does repair work for a housing association, and they are called, wait for it, Spectrum. They have big vans like an SPV and little vans, and I've seen them in cows, that's the town, not the animals, sitting side by side, although cows do also sit side by side. He says, I did go over to talk to them, but I noticed the colour of their tops, and it was magenta. I did say to the chaps, you won't catch any mistrons here. They looked very puzzled indeed. Never mind. Carry on. Oh, that's from Ambassador Paul Hyde. Yeah,
Nice.
I've seen a few Spectrum things. That's quite not a well-used logo, but you do see it on various companies' vans and websites and so on, that sort of Spectrum, yeah.
But the word sounds cool, so it's understandable.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of like it's almost like a cover-all thing, isn't it? We do a myriad of things to, that's what it suggests. Hannah has got in touch to say, Dear Richard, Jamie and all the team, how are you all? I've been enjoying all the fun and entertainment from Anderson and the Podsterons, from the new books and even news of new products, which always get me excited and bring me so much pleasure. The last few weeks, I've needed them more than ever. My gran, says Hannah, has recently passed away from dementia. I've been feeling a bit low at first, but everything from Anderson has managed to keep my spirits up, and the Podsterons are lovely and supportive people. I have fond memories of watching Thunderbirds with her when I was young. She would hum the theme tune while I watched the episodes. It always made me laugh. We also collected the early 2000s magazines after shopping. I think she may have also brought me that Tracy Island set. I must have been a lucky child. As a matter of fact, says Hannah, as I'm texting this message, the memories are flooding back to me again. I'm going to miss those days, and I'm going to miss her very much. I just want to say thank you for keeping me entertained and happy for when I needed it most. I'm looking forward to the new stuff that's in the making and the concert Blu-ray. I will forever treasure those old memories, and I will do exactly the same thing with the new ones I'm making. Thank you all very much, from Hannah. Isn't that lovely?
Lovely. Really lovely. Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, the power of nostalgia is extremely strong.
Yes, but as Hannah says, there's new stuff to look forward to as well. We're still making new memories to look back on later, which is lovely.
Exactly.
So yes, thanks for those emails. Do send them in to podcast@gerryanderson.com. And if you're lucky, might read them out next time.
Well, remember, I thought for a second there you were going to forget the email address, even though...
Did you sense that little hesitation in my voice?
Yeah. It was one of those Gerry Anderson at podcast.com days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah,
it's the heat.
Yes.
It's the heat.
You know me too well.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I've got some news coming up, and I'm sure I will mess all of that up to make you feel better. Or just
Excellent.
because it's me. Are you ready for some Gerry Anderson news?
Yeah, I'm ready for you to make a mess of the Gerry Anderson news, yeah.
Brilliant. Here's the very messy Gerry Anderson news. It's the Gerry Anderson Newsy news.
That's it. That's the one. All right. Whoa, steady on. Yeah.
Okay, Richard. Fine. Let's try and get this going. Okay. Anything can happen. That's
right.
That's it. That's the title of our new audio annual. TV
what now?
Century 21 audio annual, which was announced on Friday last week and is available for pre-order. Features, I think, 7 stories from across the Super Marionation era, taken from 1960s annuals.
Yeah?
Read by the marvellous Nicholas Briggs and marvellous Wayne Forrester, both marvellous, both lovely chaps.
Yeah, oh yeah, great.
Exact titles of the stories to be announced, but they include Thunderbird, Stingray, Captain Scarlet, and Joe 90.
Oh, lovely. Well, we all look forward to that.
Would you believe it?
Yeah.
And I have to say, the cover art for this, it's so beautiful. It is. I want the cover art just blown up on a canvas, to be quite honest, because it is so gorgeous.
Is it new cover art, or is it reproduced?
You've seen it.
Have I?
It's brand new cover art from Marcus Stamps. Yeah, it's that lovely montage thing. Do you know the one I sent you? Yeah, you remember it now, don't you? Because it is lovely.
I do now, yeah.
Yeah, so just pop along to shop.gerryanderson.com and you will find it there. If you'd like to pre-order it, it'll be coming into the store in July.
Now, it's called an annual, which sort of presupposes that there might be one every year.
You could be right there. Now, traditionally, annuals obviously were released later in the year around Christmas time, but we couldn't wait. So it's Christmas in July, basically, this time. So, yes, anything can happen. The 2022 audio annual is on its way very, very soon. Also, arriving very soon, and probably tomorrow, if you're listening on the day of release, certainly this week, it's the UFO Comic Anthology Volume 2. And goodness me, it's a weighty chunker, this one. What a big old book it is. It's beautiful. Right. All the stuff from TV action. So following on from the Countdown collection that we did before. So this kind of gives you the entire run of the UFO comics from the 1970s with added articles and goodies. It's shipping shortly. If you haven't bought either yet, if you order both, you get free shipping. Exciting. But if you do want to complete your collection, it'll be shipping this week and we'll be able to get it to you ASAP.
Nice.
Also, we've had lots of you emailing in and tweeting and messaging and, sending smoke signals. Where is the Thunderbird 5 badge that we promised you?
Yes, I've seen
You've noticed that, haven't you?
Yes, I have, yes.
Now, don't worry, it's on the way. It just took us a little bit longer to get ready than we thought. So, Thunderbird 5 badge is an app exclusive. So that's only available via the Ander app. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I can hear some. I can hear some grating eyes rolling there. Rolling so hard you might do yourself an injury.
Right.
But yes, we made a promise that it would be an app exclusive, and so that it will be. So if you've already got the first 4, you'll get a notification via the app when they go live. And we'll also do an email later on just to confirm that they are there. It's the Thunderbird 5 badge plus a collector's backer card, so you can put the first 4 badges onto your card to make the full set. Isn't that nice?
Like it. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Good. So that'll be available later this week via the app only. So if you want to grab the app and you haven't downloaded it yet, you can go to ander.sn/anderapple if you're on an Apple iPhone, or to ander.sn/Android if you're on an Android phone. Android, that's the gag, you see, the Ander thing. Anyway, Podsteron, do you live in the United States of America or Canada or perhaps even Mexico? If you're shaking your head, then, go make a cup of tea for a second or have a little break. If you're nodding vigorously...
You could just press that little button that fast forwards 15 seconds.
By 30 seconds, skip the 30 seconds, or just listen anyway. North American Ander fans, we have heard you. We understand that waiting time for shipping is long and expensive to get stuff over to you, and there are import taxes and all that sort of stuff. So, as I mentioned previously, in previous podcasts, we've been storing some stuff in the US in our fulfillment warehouse in Columbus in Ohio. Now there is a Gerry Anderson store just for you. So you can go to gerryanderson.store if you're in the US or Canada and find a selection of products available shipping from inside the US. So it'll be much quicker, much cheaper to get to you, and you can expect delivery in probably 2 to 4 days from order rather than 1 to 2 weeks. Plus reduce shipping costs, etc., etc. Do pop along, and if you are a podcast listener, if you put in pod10, then you can get 10% off your first order from the US store. How's that?
That's pretty good going.
10, and that'll get you 10% off. There's a lot this week. Next up, the concert. Stand by for action. Lots of you were there. Lots of you couldn't make it. Lots of you have pre-ordered a soundtrack or a DVD or Blu-ray. Well, let me tell you, the soundtrack is entering its final editing and mix phase. I've been listening to it. It sounds gorgeous. Can I just say, actually listening to it, I got quite emotional.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it took me right back there. And just hearing the cheers and the energy from the audience and the applause was just so lovely. So it sounds fantastic. Little kind of bits of rebalancing and remixing have gone on to, for example, bring out the organ in UFO, which is a little bit lost in the mix on the night. So it's sounding glorious. The video version is also entering final editing, so it's not too long to wait. We hope they will be sent off for manufacturing in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So stand by for more updates. We'll put some more trailers and teasers out in due course.
And will that include, will we hear and see a little of John Colshaw's
so on the CD version, no John, we're just going track to track with a bit of applause.
Yeah.
The video version, yes, we hope we will get some lovely John Colshaw in there as well.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
There you go. On this Friday of this week, what's that, the 24th, I think?
Something like that. Yeah.
There's another very exciting announcement coming.
Is there?
Thunderbirds fans, I think you'll be quite happy about this. Something new, something old, something we haven't done before in this particular way. It's going to be quite cool. Stand by for that.
Yay.
And finally, if you have not yet seen Gerry Anderson Life Uncharted at the cinema, we have 3 dates remaining. The 29th of June at the Quad in Derby, which is a charity event in partnership with Hoob. The 10th of July, Chapeltown in Manchester. and the 23rd of July at number 8 in Pershore, which is part of their Anderson and Thunderbirds weekend that they're having in Pershore. So that's quite exciting. They're doing all sorts of other screenings. All those include Q&A with director-producer Benjamin Field and me. Sorry about that. We'd love to see you there. Go on to gerryanderson.com/documentary for the links to book your tickets.
Nice. Yeah.
I didn't make too much of a mess of that, did I?
No, it was perfect. It was perfect. Yeah, you did very well indeed.
Thank you. Right, well, I made it. I'm going to have some coffee now. Oh, I messed up the end. Oh. I almost made it. I'm going to have a glug of coffee now while Richard sings you out, because that's the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news. You messed it up at the end. News.
Oh, you went low this week.
Did I?
Normally
I don't know what I
you
do.
do that sort of bright sort of trumpeting sound to your singing, but this was a bit more kind of cash lounge singer.
Well, was it? Well, I mean, you know, I'm so good I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah,
It's just
a
natural.
natural.
See? Yeah, just a natural. Now, over on our Facebook group, if you are a member of Facebook, by the way, you could join us at facebook.com/groups/Podsterons, answer a few questions, and we'll let you in, join in the fun. Tom Hodden has posted a story from The Independent. The headline is, looks like technology is catching up to the Anderverse every day. And here's the article that he linked to. Autonomous cargo ship completes first ever transoceanic voyage. AI route optimization increased fuel efficiency and reduced greenhouse gas emissions in a voyage across the Pacific Ocean. A self-steering ship has completed the world's first transoceanic voyage of a large vessel using autonomous navigation technology. Avicus, which is a subsidiary of the world's largest shipbuilding company, HD Hyundai, announced that the 180,000 square metre class ship, and then I had to subscribe in order to read on. So that's all you're getting, because I didn't want to pay.
Brilliant.
Fair enough. So if you want to know more, head on over to independent.co.uk and, sign up to their news service. Why would you do that?
Who needs that when you've got
all
Gerry
your
Anderson
Gerry
news?
Anderson news here? Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one. Yeah, I love it when sort of Anderson-esque things pop up in the news. I think someone else on our Facebook group, we were talking about Mars last week and how that pops up perennially. Someone else on our Facebook group this week, just this morning, posted a story of the snake-like rocks that have been spotted on Mars.
Nice.
Which is, of course, has got us all thinking. Jonathan Spencer says, after seeing a couple of turbocharged Thunderbirds episodes on YouTube, one thing crossed my mind. Who thought this was a good idea? Over the past few days, he says, I've been suffering from a bad case of the flu, as well as the paracetamol and other helpful drugs I've been taking. I've also been helped by the warmth and love from this group. The people here are quite possibly the fabbest human beings ever. Well, aren't they just?
Great review.
They really are. Cookie yo-yos, aren't they? All of them.
Hashtag Kooky Yo-Yos, the lot of them.
Come on, let's own it. Anthony Berryman posted, so pottering away working at home, catching up on my daily random catch-up of podcasts I've missed, and today, Pod 65, the 20th anniversary Breakaway Day cast, and it's mid-Samira and Kevin interview. My best friend Alex turns up at my door with a surprise gift for me. It's an original boxed Dinky Eagle. I only had a hand-me-down one as a kid, and when I saw this at my friend's auction, I knew that I should have a punt. Stupidly, with bank holidays, I missed the auction, but secretly, my friend Alex had won it for me as a treat for all the help and hard work I do for him and our years of friendship. Absolutely made up. Eagle one to base. I'm coming home, says Anthony Berryman.
Cool, what a treat.
Nice? Absolutely. What a friend. Who has friends like that? I mean, you know. Well, I've got a sister that vomits on them, and that's about it as far as Eagles go.
Yes. Well, I did. Shall I let the Podsterons in on my secret acquisition? Is that what you were hinting at?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, I think you should. Yes.
Yeah. So, I'll make a shorthand version of this story. So,
go on.
Many years ago, I was given a half-size TARDIS by Mark Harris, I believe, and it was a really lovely thing. And sadly, beginning in my teenage years, Dad was not happy for me to keep it, and so it had to go. So that was that. The TARDIS went bye-bye, which was very, very sad. Nick Briggs was most touched by this, and so had made for me a third-scale TARDIS, which arrived yesterday, the day before recording, at my door. I wasn't expecting it, and it's an absolute beauty. I shall tweet some pictures on social, but obviously in the wake of the documentary and thinking about this a lot and all that sort of stuff, it was a really lovely, touching thing. So what a nice man. So sorry, Anthony, to try and outdo you there and steal your thunder. I'm not, custom third scale TARDIS.
Nick Briggs got me a TARDIS.
I didn't realise I'd become Zippy from Rainbow there, but yeah, it's really lovely. So Nick, thank you. What a lovely, lovely gesture.
Yeah, I mean, of course we love getting gifts from friends, but it's even nicer when they're Gerry Anderson or Doctor Who gifts.
Absolutely.
Ian Stevens says, over the last couple of days, I've been up in the loft having a general tidy up and sort out. I found a box containing some old cassette tapes that belonged to my dad. However, in amongst these was an hour of super themes, which I had completely forgotten about. It was also released as Jeff Love and his orchestra, Star Wars, and other space themes. This was probably one of the first cassettes I ever bought during my childhood, and while I didn't want to run the risk of playing the cassette, I don't have a cassette player anyway, I did check out the tracks on YouTube last night. Jeff Love's versions of UFO, Thunderbirds and Space 1999 Series 1 are quite unusual. Not anything like the original versions, but still, in a strange way, I quite enjoyed hearing them again. I was going to post a picture, but the cover is badly faded and you can barely see it, but I downloaded a photo from Google and it's pretty much exactly the same edition. It's funny what you find when you're having a sort out. Anyone else ever stumbled across anything with a link to Gerry Anderson they'd forgotten about, says Ian. Yeah. Good thought. Let us know at podcast@gerryanderson.com. But I know those tunes, you can listen to them. Just go onto YouTube and search for Jeff Love UFO, Jeff Love Thunderbirds, Jeff Love Space 1999 and hear what he had to make of them. I'm not sure Barry Gray would have approved. Well, perhaps he would. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Barry's particularly precious. But
no,
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. Now, we've had other contributors for the last couple of weeks giving us their quickfire fives following my disastrous take of Tom Hodden's latest offering.
What was that absolute mess?
So Jim Cleland got in touch with me on Twitter and says, well, I've got a quickfire five for Jamie if he's interested. So here we are with Jim Cleland's quickfire five. Right, Jamie, are you ready for these? You're going to stage a number of theatrical events. Do you choose precocious 9-year-old Joe McClane with the brain imprint of actor, director, writer Sam Wanamaker? Or actress, writer, stand-up comedian Lubna Kerr?
Oh, well, I have to go for the real human who's been on the podcast. Lubna, yeah.
Exactly right. There are plans to remake the live-action film Thunderbirds. Do you employ precocious 9-year-old Joe McClane with the brain imprint of Ridley Scott? Or rehire Jonathan Frakes in the hope that he'll get it right this time?
Oh, wow. I mean, either way, this is an insult, isn't it? I'll allow Joe, as long as he doesn't revert to his normal self.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. You end up at Accident and Emergency. Who do you choose between? Precocious 9-year-old Joe McClane with the brain imprint of Dr. Helena Russell, or ethically suspect Dr. Doug Jackson from Shadow?
Yeah. I might take my life in my hands and go with Doug.
Yes. A crime has been committed in Demeter City. Who do you choose to investigate? Precocious 9-year-old Joe McClane with the brain imprint of John and Julie from The Investigator, or Officer Hubble Orin from Space Precinct?
Orin, 100%, no hesitation, obviously.
Of course. And finally, who would win in a battle to the death? Precocious 9-year-old Joe McClane or Torchy, the assault and battery boy?
Torchy nailing Joe.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so well done, Jim. Thank you for that fantastic quickfire five for Jamie this week. Very nicely done. That last one rather put me in mind of Lee Sullivan's Torchy the Butchery Boy that he produced.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, talking of Lee Sullivan, I don't know, I saw he posted something on Facebook this morning.
I know, he's very naughty.
Bit of a spoiler for something.
He did message me and said, am I allowed to do this? And I said, oh, God. So, yeah. Anyway,
you know,
say no more.
You'll know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There we are. So do join in the fun on our Facebook group and, basically, whatever you post there, take it as read that I might well plunder it and read it out on a podcast. So
plunder, plunder, plunder.
That's right, exactly.
From plunder to quilter.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
So
it's
tell
the
me
first part
what's
of my interview.
going on.
Yeah.
Who is this guy? Who are you? Why are you doing it?
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but back in 94 and 95 at Pinewood Studios, there was a TV show in production called Space Precinct. It was from the stable of many other classic...
sorry.
Sorry, Jamie. Jamie, I'm talking.
Oh, sorry, do carry on. I just had a little tired moment there.
Now, I don't like to talk about it, but David Quilter does.
That's lucky, isn't it?
Well, so I had a little chat with him via Zoom a couple of weeks ago, and it was lovely to hook up with him again. Actually, it's quite a wide-ranging talk. In this first part, which we'll be hearing any moment now, he talks about his early days as an actor and as a child, and what got him interested in theatre and performing, his early credits, and also a really interesting link with the Titanic. So have a listen to this.
Ooh, okay. Here we go.
Well, it's a pleasure to see this smiling face on my laptop in front of me. It's only David Quilter. How are you, David?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm really well. It's very nice to see you again. It has been a long time. And it's especially been a long time since we last worked together. I mean...
It's about 28 years or something like that.
Yes. I'm afraid it is. 1995, I think, was our
94,
last...
95, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But we're going to talk about all sorts of things during the course of this interview, not just Space Precinct, although, of course, our audience will be especially interested in that. But I want to ask you, first of all, David, was there ever a time where I might not have been talking to David Quilter, actor, but I might have been talking to David Quilter, accountant or doctor? In other words, did you always have an ambition to act?
Yes and no. I mean, it probably didn't occur to me until I was at school, and I was probably 12.
Uh-huh.
And my mother took me to a play. The first sort of grown-up play was actually an Agatha Christie, whose title has changed many times over the years because it's not acceptable any longer. So you probably know what it is. It's like something like 10 Green Bottles now or something. I don't know what it is. But it was at the Queen's Theatre, Hornchurch in Essex. And we saw an actress called Gwen Watford, who used to be quite a big star in her time, playing the part of the maid. And I loved the show. I just thought, I just love this whole thing of theatre. Yeah. And I wanted to go back and see the next play, which was a play called Death of a Rat, in which Gwen Watford was going to play the lead.
Well, the rat?
And so we went back the next week and saw her play the lead. And that actually did it for me, just to see the range of what an actor's life was and what they did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until later on, when I was away at school, probably I was 15 or 16, and it was announced at the end of the term, what was happening to people, and it said, so-and-so has got a scholarship to RADA.
Ah.
And I knew what it was, and I thought, oh, so somebody's actually going to do this as a job. And that was it.
So what were your sort of, influences at the time? Were you a big reader, cinema goer? I mean...
Oh, yes, cinema, absolutely.
Really?
I used to go probably 2 or 3 times a week. I'd cycle up to the town, Brentwood in Essex.
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 cinemas. On one side of the road, there was the Odeon. On the other side of the road, there was the Palace.
Yeah.
I would go and watch the double bill at the Odeon, cross the road and go and watch the double bill at the Palace.
Wow.
And very cheap.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I just sat there, sometimes completely on my own, and absolutely loved it.
Before the days of sort of cinema multiplexes, of course.
Oh, yeah, way before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the 50s.
Mm. And what sort of films sort of piqued your interest the most? Were you into the westerns?
Oh, I loved anything with Robert Mitchum.
Right, yeah.
I loved westerns.
Yeah.
I would have given anything to have been in a western.
Yeah.
As I think a lot of British actors, in those days, 50s, 60s, would have loved. Because they were the sort of glamour, historical romances that of the time.
How close do you think you got to being in a West? I mean, Space Precinct wasn't a mile away, was it? Really?
Probably not, actually, thinking back. But it didn't feel like a Western to me. Partly because you've got this rather cumbersome rubber head on. But
yes. So you had your sort of interest piqued by hearing that it was possible to go to RADA, be trained, become an actor. So what was your story then? How did you go about finding yourself in that career?
Well, I announced to my father that I wanted to act. And being the very sensible chap he was, he said, okay, well, continue with your studies, and in the meantime, join an amateur group, which seemed like a good bargain to me. Yeah. So I did. Didn't enjoy it actually very much. Funnily enough.
Okay.
I can't remember what the first play we did was, but I was quite clearly clueless. And as for my studies, well, that's another story, and we won't go into that. But let's to say they weren't my top priority. But then a group of us got together and formed an outdoor Shakespeare society, and we put on Taming of the Shrew. And our county drama advisor, I don't know if there are such things now, but then was a guy called Jack Mitchley, who directed it. And I told him what I wanted to do, that I wanted to do this. And he gave me a lot of advice and told me about drama schools, advised me on auditioning and so on.
Yeah.
And so I set about that process. Learned a few speeches.
And did you at that point sort of have an idea or a dream about what an actor's life might be and where it might lead you?
Not really. I mean, he said that, you've got to be prepared to step over everybody to get there because it's unbelievably difficult.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll be right.
Yeah.
Because you've got nothing to shatter your confidence. I mean, I played a character called Biondello in The Taming of the Shrew that we put on, that he directed. And it was thoroughly enjoyable. I don't know if I was good or bad or indifferent. I think I was okay. I did what I was asked to do. So I sort of had probably misplaced confidence.
Right.
In as much as, this is thoroughly enjoyable and not too difficult, really.
Now, you've mentioned your father there. Remind me, David, there's a family connection, isn't there, with, of all things, the Titanic?
Yeah, my grandfather.
Right.
Survivor.
Right. Yeah. And am I right in saying that you found yourself narrating a documentary about the ship?
No. What I did was he wrote a book. He was persuaded to write a book in New York, and he wrote it literally 2 weeks after landing in New York on the Carpathia. And so I've got this book of his, and I basically took his personal story out of it and have narrated that as him. So that's on YouTube, actually. There were now more people walking about, but no new information was forthcoming. The ship had now resumed her course, moving very slowly through the water, with a little line of white foam either side of the bow. I think we were all glad to see this. I decided to go down again, and as I crossed from the starboard to the port side, I saw an officer climb onto the last lifeboat on the port side, number 16, and begin to throw off the cover. But no one seemed to pay him any particular attention. As I passed to the door to go down, I looked forward and saw, to my surprise, an undoubted tilt downwards from the stern to the bows. Only a slight slope, which I don't think anyone had noticed. At any rate, they had not remarked on it. So I went back to my cabin and sat on the sofa and read for some 10 minutes. And then I heard through the open door above, "All passengers on deck with lifebelts on." I placed 2 books I was reading in the side pockets of my Norfolk jacket, picked up my lifebelt and my dressing gown, and walked upstairs tying on my lifebelt. Upon reaching the top deck again, I found many people assembled there, some fully dressed with coats and wraps, well prepared for anything that might happen. Others had thrown wraps hastily around them when they were called and were not equipped to face the cold of that night. Fortunately, there was no wind to beat the cold air through our clothing. Even the breeze from the ship's motion had died entirely away, for the engines had stopped again, and the Titanic lay peacefully on the surface. Yes, I mean, he was a big influence in my life. I mean, he actually paid for my schooling. I was born in his house. He never spoke of it, never spoke a word of it. And I wasn't aware of it until the film A Night to Remember came out, I think in 1953 or something. And my mother went with him to the premiere. And but even then, I just wasn't really aware that, I was only sort of 11 or something at the time.
Yeah.
What a big thing this was.
Yeah.
But he gave some advice on the film.
Ah, really?
And he went to Pinewood. Pinewood. And he went onto the set and went onto the mock-up of the Titanic for the scene of part of the sinking. And they had great difficulty in getting him off.
Right.
Because he had that sort of survivor's guilt.
Oh.
And, I mean, he was very, very lucky to get off.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of men did. So, I think he felt it coloured his whole life, I think, from then on.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? It's a certain generation. I don't know if you're aware, but Jamie has produced a documentary that's currently doing the rounds, and it's on BritBox, about his father, Gerry, and about his life. So it's not so much about the shows, it's about sort of the man that he was, and the troubles that he went through as a young child and with his family and so on. And his brother died during the war, which is thought to have affected Gerry greatly. But Jamie often says that Gerry wasn't particularly a demonstrative man and didn't like to talk about the past. It does seem a generational thing, doesn't it? Where if terrible things happened, the way to deal with them was almost to bury them rather than bringing them to light.
Oh, yes. I mean, my uncle and my father were both in the Second World War, and my uncle went to Normandy on D-Day +1 and saw appalling things, and was at the liberation of Belsen, I think, concentration camp. He didn't want to speak a word about the war.
Yeah, gosh.
No, I mean, that generation did see terrible things, and now there would be counselling and all kinds of help, but then you grinned and bore it,
Yeah. So you find yourself at drama school, I guess, just at the turn of the swinging 60s. Is that about right?
1960.
Right.
Which it hadn't started swinging by any means then, I can assure you. It started swinging probably about 64 or 65.
Right.
I mean, in a way, the 60s should be called the 70s because it was really got going in the early 70s.
Yeah.
But, there was a tremendous revolution sexual revolution, I suppose, largely down to the contraception pill.
Yeah.
It was, they talk about free love. Well, it was.
Free and easy love.
Yeah.
And so what was your drama school experience like? What was the training like in the 60s?
I loved it. It felt like I suddenly felt at home. It was incredible. And I didn't get into RADA. I didn't get into Central. I went to Webber Douglas.
Yeah.
Sadly, no longer in existence.
Yeah.
But I walked in there on the first day and I didn't feel any qualms. I just felt utterly at home. And the courses all then were 2 years, not 3.
Yeah, right.
And it was the most memorable and blissful 2 years of my life almost. I mean, it was absolutely fabulous. No, I mean, total security, no worries about getting work or earning a living. You were just doing what you wanted to do. It was fabulous.
Yeah, it's like a safety net, isn't it? I remember my 3 years at Bristol, and at the start of every term, of course, you see on the board exactly the part you're going to play in the next production. It's like, oh, great, I know what I'm doing for the next 6 months. Wonderful. So, Webber Douglas, was that Earl's Court? Is that right, in London?
No, South Kensington. Just off Gloucester Road.
So how did you find London?
Very close to Lambda.
How did you find London? Was it the first time away from home, or were you a well-travelled young man?
Well, it wasn't the first time away from home, because I was away from home at school. I mean, we lived in Essex, and I was at school in Dorset, so that was quite a... So being away from home wasn't a problem at all.
Yeah.
And my first year, I commuted.
Right.
And the second year, I shared a small flat with another guy in our class. I don't know, we just had a wonderful time. It was not the best drama school. We were basically, the training was to get us prepared for weekly rep.
Yes, which at that point was still going pretty strong, wasn't it, throughout the 60s?
Oh, yeah. My first job was weekly rep.
Right.
I was an acting ASM in weekly rep. So we did we rehearsed a play on the Monday. We'd run it on the Thursday, having learnt the lines. We'd put it on the following Monday and start rehearsing the next play on the Tuesday. And thinking about it now just makes my blood run cold. But at the time, it was just accepted. That's what we did.
Yeah. Yeah. And was that the limit of your ambition at that point, or did you have other plans in mind for yourself?
Oh, I wanted to do Shakespeare. I wanted to do. I wanted to play Henry V, and all that malarkey.
And you did find yourself at the RSC for a season or so, is that right?
Well, yes, I did, and I was there for 2 years, and hardly spoke a word of Shakespeare.
Right, typical.
The first year, I think I spoke one word, maybe, or two. Yeah. The second year, I had one smallish part. It's quite a nice part, actually, in not even a Shakespeare play. It was called The Jew of Malta.
Yeah. And
I had tiny little parts in Merchant of Venice and, what did we do? I can't remember. Anyway, then at the end of the season, I went to the Aldrich and was playing nothing in Hamlet, David Warner's Hamlet.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm actually, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I mean, the people I was on stage with were incredible. Ian Holm, Lloyd Dotrice, Peggy Ashcroft, Donald Sinden.
Wow.
I mean, gods of the theatre. Fantastic. And Paul Schofield, one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life. Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't have missed it, but I really, professionally, I shouldn't have done it. I should have got out into the provincial theatre,
right?
Which I did later, but
I mean, looking at your IMDb profile, which of course I know isn't the tome of all knowledge, but TV came knocking quite early. I mean, I've got credits here for The Wars of the Roses in '65, Bat Out of Hell in '66. The Deadly
Out of
Affair.
Hell was my first real telly part. And I don't know how it came about, actually. In those days, you didn't go through casting directors. You didn't go through... You would write directly to the producer, director. I would walk into the BBC television centre and ask to see somebody.
Right.
I mean, it couldn't be more different.
Ooh,
there.
Nice.
Thank you.
What a lovely man.
Thank you. Yes, of course he is.
And
of course
David.
Lovely. Yeah, hey, lovely David Quilter. Thank you for joining us, David. Yes, a long, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, an illustrious career. More of that next week. And of course, we'll be talking about his experience working on Space Precinct 2. But he has other sci-fi credentials that he'll be talking with us next time. Yeah,
okay, well, I look forward to those.
Exactly right. Now, over on our YouTube channel, people have been commenting under our various pods and so on before we get to Chris Dale's amazing randomizer. For example, underneath pod 208 a couple of weeks ago, Natasha Romanoff says, another great podcast from our old pals, Richard and Jamie. That's nice, isn't it?
Nice to feel like a pal,
nice to be
isn't
a pal.
it?
Yeah. A new card game. Says Natasha, not Tex Tucker's Texas Hold'em, but something more interesting. If this pod wasn't continuously excellent, then the lads would have had their cards a long time ago. I hope Richard got his head out okay, as sometimes it isn't always the prawns that are crackers.
Whey!
You see, I'm suffering from that syndrome that I mentioned last week, where I can't remember what people are referring to when they talk
because
about
we're having a
things from
takeaway
previous
and a prawn cracker went under the sofa and you stuck your head under there to get it out. Remember?
It all makes a kind of sense. Ian Dealey posted, as a kid, I used to have a VHS tape of Thunderbirds 2086. It was a pocket money video compilation, which featured 2 episodes from that show, as well as the Captain Scarlet episode, Spectrum Strikes Back. That's interesting. Do you get those sort of compilation anthology, I don't know, disc? I suppose not these days, because of course you can stream everything, can't you? Just download
you get
whatever
the whole
you
lot
want to
anyway,
watch.
so
That's right, yeah. Howard Key posted, I've always thought of opening a Gerry Anderson themed restaurant one day. Here we go, back to our Anderson restaurants, and calling it Brahmans, after Brain's favourite chess playing robot, and specialising in everything with chips. The maitre d' would look like Parker, with the table staff all dressed as various Thunderbird characters, who would take your order and then have your meal delivered to your table by Thunderbird 2 in a pod of your choosing. Along with this, Brains will be standing behind the bar creating a selection of fab cocktails and handing out useful advice while Lady P wanders around keeping an eye on things, making sure everyone is having a good time. Finally, for those who are at the end of the evening and maybe imbibed a bit too much, there would always be a member of the Tracy family on hand to come to your rescue and put you in a handy pig taxi that would take you safely home. And that's from Howard Key. Isn't that great?
I'm just going to say, for those of you who shouted Brahman when Richard said Brahman, I'm very, very sorry, but that's fine. These things happen. It's the Shadow Mobiles all over again.
Yeah, is it mobile or mobile?
It's mobile!
Sorry. And finally, a couple more underneath the video for FAB Facts. Terrahawks, having started life as an anime series. Crikey, here's a difficult name. Zipalitra. Will you ever do a deep dive on Thunderbirds 2086? It's a very strange series, with some episodes that could potentially go toe-to-toe with the actual Thunderbirds show. Their use of incidental Captain Scarlet Thunderbird Stingray music is quite interesting too.
Chris Dale has talked about doing that.
Yeah, bet he has.
Interestingly, but it's not currently on the cards.
Sure.
So there you go.
Fair enough. And finally, Raccoonus Maximus posted, honestly, with how the modern anime industry is flourishing right now, I would actually like to see a Terrahawks reboot in that style. It would be interesting to see how it visually translates with the style sort of some of the modern studios, notably Studio Trigger and the style that they use. Yeah, well, there we are. Raccoonus Maximus.
Who knows?
Well, all I'll say is careful what you wish for.
Yeah, be very, very careful.
Yeah. There we go. So yes, comment away. That could happen. Comment away on our YouTube channel, and I'll read some out next time. Possibly.
Marvellous.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah.
Now, High Lord Chris Dale appears to have dismissed his 2 fanning beauties who have been gently wafting him. So he's looking extremely cool, calm and collected, ready for this week's randomizer. So
yes, isn't he? Yes.
I know. So while he just adjusts his cream tie that goes with his cream shirt and cream linen suit, yes, I guess he'll be ready in a moment to press the big red button on the randomizer, where he randomly selects a random episode of a random Gerry Anderson series or film and says things about it. So, Chris, you're looking so suave and sophisticated. Let's hope it's a good one for you. You deserve it.
Right, one last chance. Here we go. D-A-O-D. Oh, nothing to it. Oh, hello everyone. Sorry, no time for a full introduction today as the randomizer has already made today's selection, and it is DAOD, aka Danger at Ocean Deep. Here's Thunderbirds. So, welcome back to the randomizer. It's Thunderbirds, and I was just thinking there, there's this wonderful shot of the Ocean Pioneer. Ocean Pioneer 1 sets off across the AP Films water tank to that wonderful big gun theme from Stingray. I was just thinking with the opening titles, the This Episode sequence, how I love with episodes like this where in the first batch of clips you see, here is a thing, next shot, here is another thing, next shot, here is the two things interacting, next shot, total chaos. And I just love that. There's a shot of the boat, there's a shot of the cloud, there's a shot of the boat going into the cloud, and then just debris. Lovely stuff. There's quite a few Thunderbirds episodes that open like that. Also, particularly love this. Just glory shots of technology in Thunderbirds just cruising along with bombastic music. It's beautiful.
Yes, sir, Commander. 6 more like Ocean Pioneer, and we'll have the...
Yeah, I particularly love that although the bridge just says Ocean Pioneer and the crew refer to it as Ocean Pioneer, the model says Ocean Pioneer 1.
Ocean Pioneer in the service as soon as possible.
Someone was hedging their bets there, that this might not go too well.
20,000 tons of seaworthy steel certainly makes the balance sheet look good.
Yes, again, more wonderful... stiff upper lip, blighty chaps.
Manual Collins, I'll trim it.
That's Ray Barrett, David Graham as the Collins, and John Tate as the, was that an investor guy? And of course this is the first Thunderbirds episode I am recording since the sad loss of Matt Zimmerman. And in order to prove this is completely random, I don't remember this being an episode that he's particularly involved with. For once, as we'll get into later, this is
where the boys don't usually slip up on that sort of thing.
At points, this is quite a John-heavy episode.
Zeros.
Anyway, Ocean Pioneer the First is heading into an area of mist.
Still rising, Captain.
Mysterious areas of mist are always to be avoided in Anderson shows. Mysterious clouds and such like. Also, time portals to the past that can turn you into a caveman, of course. And it's a very nice shift from that, as I said, that big bombastic, here we go, here's a gorgeous ship, wonderful technology. And now we're sort of, what's going on? This is all nice and mysterious. And I don't think we get any more dialogue from any of these crew after this, just the ship disappearing into the mist, and then the lone foghorn. And then the final fateful noise. There it goes. Yep. I love that you lose the ship and then suddenly you're back with it in the centre of the cloud as it just totally goes up in flames. And this is quite shocking, actually, as an intro for a Thunderbirds episode, because obviously, Thunderbirds, it's international rescue. We're used to seeing people saved, but actually, no, those people we just saw, they are dead. They are very much dead. And there's the wreckage of the Ocean Pioneer 1 with our title, Danger at Ocean Deep. I'm not entirely sure that's a title that makes sense. Someone might have to correct me on that. But anyway... here's the launch of Ocean Pioneer 2, because we're not going to let the total destruction of Ocean Pioneer 1 get in the way of anything.
As chairman, I can say the men certainly appreciate your doing us the honour today.
And Lady Penelope is here to launch the ship.
If you will just step this way, dear lady.
Yes, that's it's the Lord Sultan puppet from Vault of Death with the same voice, but it is a different character.
Thoroughly excellent vintage, Parker. Excellent, I say. Indeed.
Yes, Parker is getting sloshed in the back of Fab 1 with Stevens, who is, I guess, his lordship's chauffeur. I don't know who this guy's chauffeuring, but yeah, Parker's switched out the bottle.
Toast to one of England's fair...
I love that puppetry on the glass clinking. Yeah, lots of familiar faces up on the launching platform with Penelope, including Lord Silton. I think I recognise...
it gives me a great...
well, there's Chip from Security Hazard, and his father is manning the camera. There's,
Oh,
did I say Lord Silton? I meant, the guy from Perils of Penelope. Sir Jeremy Udge. That's the Peter Dinkley guy. But Lord Silton is up there, and perhaps most surprising, dare I say alarming of all, is one of the guys who was on Ocean Pioneer 1. So either he survived, which I think is very unlikely, or he's got an identical twin brother who came to make sure that this launching went off without a hitch.
This like Lord Roden.
Lord Roden, okay.
Incredible, isn't it? How they...
Yeah, it's the exact same puppet in the exact same uniform, wearing the exact same glasses.
Oops! Oh, my bonnet! Hurrah!
Several stereotypes of the British Isles all coming together there.
The crowd goes wild.
Yet, for all the excitement of the day, there must be many whose thoughts turn to the ill-fated Ocean Pioneer 1.
Like this man over here, who was on that ship, apparently.
Hold it, Scott. Look, there's Penny.
This has been your first major launch. It must have been a great thrill.
I really like the look of this news reporter. I kind of get the feeling that the puppet is modelled on someone specific, because I don't remember seeing him before or since.
Yes, thank you, Lady Penelope. And now
there's a definite look of a deliberate caricature on that face.
Right. All we've got to do now is to wait for Penelope to report in. I wonder if she's found anything interesting.
Yes, well, define interesting. There's Parker asleep in the back of Fab 1. Stevens has cleared off, but Parker has been left with the bottle of bubbly. And it's nice to see that, considering this is a Thunderbirds episode, it's longer than the average Super Mario Nation fare, and there is sometimes a fair amount of padding. It's nice to see that there have been story developments happening off-screen before we join the International Rescue Gang. They are already sort of on the case, as it were.
1998. It seemed a pity to waste it.
And I gather from various sources that 1998 was not a good year for champagne.
I mean, sweet.
Is that the same year that Penelope said was the best year for champagne in Alias Mr. Hackenbacker?
Vintage 1993. The best year for champagne.
Oh, well.
It was pure...
I'm not going to criticise her ladyship's knowledge of the booze.
To relay to Jeff.
Ah, there's Penny now. Go ahead, Penny.
Virgil seems to be doing maintenance on a radio there.
Entirely successful.
Yes, we saw the whole thing on television, Penny. Did anybody suspect anything?
Well, I don't think so.
I love that she's reporting from the front seat of Fab 1. We just have to assume that Parker is unconscious in the back by now.
Gave it the once-over, but
he's kept quite off camera there.
The ship is in no danger, Jeff.
Well, I'm glad to have your assurance, Penelope. Thanks for investigating it for me.
You're most welcome, Jeff.
Ah.
You know, despite what Penelope says, I'm still worried about that craft.
But, Father, I don't get you. What's there to worry you, Father? Doesn't make sense.
Just because the first one mysteriously exploded without explanation and with the loss of all hands except that one guy, what's to worry about?
I mean, if it happened once, it can happen again.
That's it exactly, Alan.
Yay, Alan's on the ball.
Feeling we're going to hear more about that ship once she's left on her maiden voyage.
Well, there's no use brooding over it. If anything's going to go wrong, our worrying over it won't prevent it.
Tintin's got some interesting... I don't know, I'm not a lady and I don't put things in my hair, mainly because I don't have much. But, what is she wearing in her hair there?
In the Pacific.
It looks like almost like she's got sort of eye stalks, but they're just sort of pearls.
Just hit the island, Father, and struck the hospital full force.
Oh.
The foundations are crumbling, and the patients are in extreme danger.
Right,
How many
John.
of them?
Brief Scott when he's airborne. This has got to be quick.
FAB.
I do like that as well, yeah. We've got to get this one over with quick. There's still that boat that might explode.
On your way.
Yes, sir.
I didn't talk over it because it's useful for me to just cut out the launch sequences completely in this. But that was a nice reuse of the Thunderbirds theme from the very first episode there. I forgot that they reused that later on. It's a nice variation, but it's not got quite the same kick as the real thing, has it? But yeah, if someone had asked me, just off the top of my head, had that returned in a later episode, I probably would have said no. I completely forgot about that.
Thunderbird 1 to International Rescue Headquarters, heading across the Pacific on course 324 by 007.
Okay, Scott. Any more information?
A tidal wave has undermined the footings of the main hospital on the island. John is still getting details.
This all sounds like a rather thrilling international rescue operation. And rather interestingly, it's all going to happen off-screen.
On your way with Pod 3.
Okay, Father.
And what's in Pod 3 that you might need?
You're due in the space satellite at 1500. That leaves you out.
Yes, Father.
Gordon?
Yes, sir.
You'll double crew with Virgil. On your way.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Gordon's so keen. And Alan is so cross, because he wanted to go and save the people in the hospital.
Father,
Go ahead, Scott.
I'll be landing at the danger zone.
Oh, and here we go. This is an interesting build-up to, well, it's eventually going to lead us back into the story of the Ocean Pioneer.
What do you reckon's causing the interference, Father?
Communication problems between Tracy Island and Thunderbirds 1 and 2.
Virgil's lost contact, too. This could be very serious. Brains. What do you make of this?
I'm not touching it with a barge pole, Mr. Tracy.
Satellite is now out of contact too, Mr. Tracy.
How does he know?
I think it only affects transmissions via the satellite.
Yes, but it cleared itself then, didn't it?
Yes, Mr. Tracy.
And I don't know what that line is in reference to. What cleared itself and when? I don't know what that is. It's a nice idea, but I don't think they quite explain, set it up as well as they might.
Go off now.
I guess so, Father.
It's kind of a detour, and it's clever that it comes back into play later on in the story.
Yes, Mr. Tracy.
All right, then, I want you to go with Alan. We've got a complete communications blackout on our hands, and that leaves us vulnerable. International rescue could fall down on the job for the very first time.
And I'm worried about that ship.
All set, Father. Ready, Mr. Tracy.
Right. On your way, boys.
So, as I was mentioning earlier about padding, this is we've had Thunderbirds 1, 2 and 3 launched in very quick succession. We didn't have to sit through the pod selection part of it for Thunderbird 2, but I'm sure that must be some kind of record for getting all three launched so close together in the same story. Interestingly, there as well, they shot new footage of Alan and Brains on the little couch bit heading into Thunderbird 3 hangar and also arriving on the ship. Sometimes they'll have Alan turn up wearing the wrong clothes because he'll then cut to footage from Sun Probe and it won't match. But that was nice. So now we're up on Thunderbird 5, listening to the static.
Well, Brains, there's your recording of the interference. But it seems a mighty long way to come just to pick up a reel of tape.
Not at all, Alan. For analytical purposes, a recording made outside the Earth's atmosphere is much cleaner.
Okay, Brains, let's move. The sooner I get you back to the base, the sooner you'll be able to work out an answer.
Did you hear that? I'm going back to the base.
Don't forget, you owe me 6 hours.
Yeah, see ya.
Oh, I love that Brains is carrying a wrench in his top pocket. He's got a little wrench. That's nice. So anyway, John is heading back to Earth. Good old John.
Blast off.
It is kind of ironic, actually, that, the first Thunderbirds episode I've recorded on the Randomiser since Matt's left us, and Thunderbird 3 is involved, as is Thunderbird 5, but Alan is taking a back seat this week because John is on his way back to Earth. For the first time, probably in many months, being John, and the lonely life he leads.
No news yet, Mr. Tracy?
No, Kirano, not a whisper.
Oh, Tintin's put some sunglasses on for some reason. I'm not sure what she's doing.
Depend on communication in this rescue business.
No, you two, you mustn't encourage one another. There's probably nothing to worry about.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Kirano, we don't know anything. With all this interference in the air, long-distance transmissions are out. As far as I know...
Scott's still talking on the screen. He clearly hasn't got the message that, there is no message to get at this point.
Better go and start organizing lunch.
Oh, isn't Grandma on that already?
Again.
Yes, Tintin, I guess so.
That's one whole apple pie each.
The mail plane, I expect.
No, Kirano, that's Thunderbird 1.
A mail plane? Wow.
An extra place. It looks as if Scott will be joining us after all.
And I love that this rescue that's happened off-screen...
Point in using the radio with this...
I love that everyone is thoroughly filthy and thoroughly dirty. I like the impression it gives that this has been a really physically grueling rescue that they've had to do. No sort of runaway machines or anything that might fill up a whole episode as such. But, this feels like a more genuine rescue almost. That there is a natural disaster and they've had to go in and just deal with it themselves. No vehicles, presumably not much in the way of tech. I like that idea, and I don't think it gets explored often enough. Just sending the guys in to do a bit of manual labour on a rescue.
To shore up all the walls with hydrostats, but not before the isolation ward collapsed. Boy, that was close.
Any casualties?
Oh, no, Father. There were no cases in the ward at the time.
Oh. Virgil and Gordon, are they all right?
Sure, Tintin. And even muddier than me. They should be back soon. We found we could contact each other when we were close, despite the interference, Father.
Well, at least that's something, Scott. You'd better go and get cleaned up now, then.
Sure thing, Dad.
By the way, Mr. Tracy, the intertelecast on Ocean Pioneer 2 is almost due.
Thank goodness we don't have to contend with interference from outside transmissions.
Yeah, this is all sounding a bit inconsistent regarding what transmissions they can get and what they're not getting. They're getting the TV, but they're not getting Thunderbirds 1 and 2. Okay, that's kind of hinted at the fact that Thunderbirds 1 and 2 are in the area of interference, but then they also can't contact Thunderbird 5. I don't quite get how normal TV transmissions work in this instance. But hey-ho, we have another first, I believe. Is this the first episode we see Thunderbird 2 land in? Oh gosh, Virgil looks utterly filthy, but also, Gordon looks filthy too, but Virgil's hair is just out of control. But I love that they went to, I presume it must have been shot for this episode, this footage of Thunderbird 2 landing. It looks very nice.
Now it's for Thunderbird 3 to get back, and the whole team is together again.
Yes, and let's hope Brains clears up the mystery of this interference.
Tintin sounds happy, considering that she's gone from having to cook lunch for 4 people to having to cook lunch for 9 people. Yes, doubled her workload there, but anyway, she doesn't mind. And we're now in the lab.
Can I hear the tape once more, Tintin?
Coming up, Brains.
And Tintin's decided to take those things out of her hair, which is good because they were starting to irritate me a bit. She's gone from... This is still the point in the series where she's... she can dress up pretty, but she is also a scientist, and she is in scientist mode now.
Oh, listen.
Probably for one of the last times in the series before she became just obsessed with fashions and shopping and real minty DJs.
Mediterranean, just 3 men, 1 ship, and 200,000 tons of nature's latest aid to mankind, liquid alsterine.
What could possibly go wrong? Oh, I've jinxed it. Yes, liquid alsterine. I think that was the first mention of the ship's cargo there. And for some reason this warrants just extensive TV coverage, live coverage of a ship. Just traversing the ocean, and
radio circuit.
Jeff is watching it with his back to the screen for some reason.
Switch to auto, number 2.
Auto it is, sir.
As John Tate is now the captain of this ship.
This is Ocean Pioneer 2. Are you receiving?
And there's Matt Zimmerman as the second officer, presumably.
Well, number 2, we'll be home and dry in next to no time at all.
It's all going swimmingly. I also like, in the shot of the bridge there, you can see the aircon, the filter thingies flapping as the air is circulated through. And again, that's going to become a plot point later on. This is a nice-looking ship, the Ocean Pioneer. It really is. I think it might be the fact that it's just very, very long, suggesting that there is an awful lot of this latest aid to mankind, liquid alsterine, of which we
I see you in the laboratory right away, Mr. Tracy.
Don't yet know what it is.
We've traced the interference, Mr. Tracy, but it presents a few problems.
Okay, Brains, I'll be right with you.
Will it interrupt lunch? Oh, Scott's in here as well, helping out with the science stuff for once. This must be serious.
Go steady, Tintin.
Yeah, okay, she knows. But we still have to have suspenseful music, just in case she messes it up. Pouring one beaker into another.
Okay, Brains, let's have it.
Can we have the original, Tintin?
Coming up.
Again, there's a sound effect that would appear very frequently, I think, in later shows. There's a lot of radio interference noise. That sound effect is often played.
Proximity of a high-density liquid fuel.
And this is nice.
Low-density substance known as OD60 produces high impedance waves
Brains actually doing science things.
Which can interrupt and cut off radio communication on our bandwidth for a given distance.
Yes, he's bringing the two test tubes closer together in his little test chamber. OD60 and Alsterine.
Mr. Tracy?
Somehow he's managed to work all this out.
No, sir. It sure isn't.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Scott's supplying the redundancy factor in this scientific experiment, just repeating what the last person said.
Closer proximity.
Lots of steam and smoke in the test chamber now as he brings them closer together.
They...
Okay, Brains, what does it all add up to?
It adds up to a very...
He's wonderful, his old Brains, isn't he? Because all he's got is a radio recording of some interference.
Alsterine.
And somehow...
Alsterine, you say?
Somehow he's put it all together. OD60 and Alsterine. That's the sound caused by bringing them together.
Used to make dog food, of all things.
Which kind of reinforces the idea that Thunderbirds 1 and 2 kind of had to be flying over the place where the fog cloud is forming, as we're about to discover why this is happening.
Miles from the Gulf Stream and miles from the nearest landfall.
This OD60, is it only found in the Gulf Stream area?
I believe so, Mr. Tracy.
Oh, Lady Penelope could soon tell us.
Penny? How would she know?
Wasn't she on the panel to judge the All Pets Poodle competition?
Poodle competition?
I love that. It sounds like momentarily Tintin's gone completely insane.
From the sea.
Dog food time.
60, of course.
Then get on to Penny right away. I want to know each location of OD60 and whether any has been found in or near the Mediterranean. And tell her to make it fast. I've got a hunch.
A hunch, Father?
Yes, Scott?
A hunch. She's probably still nursing Parker's hangover at this point.
Great pile of OD60. But it's more than a hunch that sailing out from here, there's 200,000 tons of Alsterine in Ocean Pioneer 2.
Well, this is another of these, a pair of magnificent advances, technological achievements in the Thunderbirds universe that are going to prove rather, difficult when they start interacting with each other. I like the explanation of what this fog cloud at the beginning was there. And again, more glory shots. Probably the same glory shots, in fact, that we saw earlier of this great big ship.
75 miles from the coast, Captain.
Excellent.
It does make me sort of pine for the old days of Stingray a bit here. I do like when Thunderbirds does callbacks to the old seafaring days of Stingray.
Our chart position is...
especially with the reused music.
0. Proceeding at 60 knots. Over.
Good progress, Pioneer 2.
Raleigh is spiffing.
Reception committee with...
Ah, yes, reception committee. With champagne, probably.
Where's Jensen?
Ah, that wah-wah music. It was for the All Pets
Sir Arthur.
Dog food company sign, because I guess dogs are a subject for wah-wah. I don't know.
In the chapter on feeding, I feel that my readers will want to know...
Penny has gone to interview Sir... Did she say Sir Charles? I wasn't really...
You can rely on your discretion.
I wasn't really able to hear the programme over my own voice. But I do like the layout of this office of his. I like that someone has had to go to the trouble of cutting out lots of pictures and paintings of dogs for this guy's wall. They look like they've come from the old sort of Ladybird books and similar.
Around the coast of Florida, we find the main sources of OD60.
The main sources, Sir Arthur.
And it was lucky, of course, that this dog food company is in the UK.
Don't know yet.
Presumably, I mean, this sounds like a British accent that Peter Dineley is doing here.
The distance that we have to transport OD60. I tell you, the capital costs are crippling to my company. Now, what we have done is to dump 150,000 tons of active OD60 in the Mediterranean in the hope that...
Just to see what would happen.
Raw material for all pets.
Then there is OD60 in the Mediterranean.
No, we don't know for sure yet.
Oh, wow. Well, what
I love it. They've just taken it upon themselves to do something potentially... Well, they don't know that it's dangerous, but it's quite a drastic move to take because they can't be bothered to go all that way to the east coast of America to pick it up.
Successful, milady.
Dumping it in the Mediterranean instead without telling anybody.
For our worst suspicions, there really is OD60 in the Mediterranean. I must radio Jeff at once to warn him. Ocean Pioneer 2 is heading straight for trouble.
Oh, dear. Presumably, other ships would be heading through the Mediterranean and might have spotted this huge, sinister fog cloud that is... I mean, it seems to take up a fairly large chunk of the ocean's surface, but I don't know, maybe it's only just happened. More reused Stingray music here. Again, this fog cloud looks very sinister, rolling in. Oh, you know, we've got this wonderful blue sky, and then just the fog. All mysterious. It's lovely.
Ocean Pioneer 2 from International Rescue. Yeah, it's spreading to the lower frequencies now.
So presumably the whole world must be suffering communication problems. I guess? I don't know.
Just a long shot.
Well, I guess it's no use waiting for them to send out a distress call, because they just aren't going to be able to make one.
Well, what are we standing around for then? Come on, let's go.
Yay.
Pioneer 2 to Port of London, Pioneer Base. Come in, Pioneer Base.
So the Ocean Pioneer crew are still struggling to contact base.
And we're just not getting...
And this is an episode where when most Thunderbirds fans think of this one, what's notable about this episode is the fact that John goes out on a rescue. Thunderbirds 1 and 2 have been launched to rescue Ocean Pioneer 2. And I kind of remembered this being like, wow, this is John's, I believe TV Tropes calls it a Day in the Limelight episode, where a minor character, and sadly John often is a minor character in this show, despite the fact that he shouldn't be.
3-9, sir. Rising.
I remembered him being like the star of this thing. This was a John episode. It's surprising, actually, that we're coming up on 35 minutes, and... you know, he hasn't reappeared since he returned to Earth with brains. It's very nice that he's on the rescue, but it does... it's perhaps not all it could be on the John front, unfortunately.
It's no good, number 2. The reactor's gone too far.
I know there are some hardcore John fans out there, and quite right too, because he did deserve more time on screen than he got.
9-8.
Certainly more involvement with rescues than he gets. You know, just this
deteriorating
one episode. And now, the Ocean Pioneer 2 is, well, the engines are sort of breaking and such. And the captain's not happy about the weather, so the second officer has decided to close the windows. Because he doesn't want to have to listen to the old man moaning about that stuff. Yeah, I like as well that we don't really know what this Alsterine stuff is, unless I've waffled over it. I presume it's some kind of fuel. The most highly volatile and explosive fuel probably ever conceived by mankind. But I love that it's described as, you know, nature's latest gift to mankind. And they've just packed as much of it as they can onto a ship with a nuclear reactor. But it's a nice haunting imagery, again with this fog cloud and just this ship heading deeper into it. Sounding an alarm siren to nobody, essentially. Nobody's anywhere near them. Nobody's going to hear them. Maybe he thinks he's going to run into somebody coming the other way, but yes. It becomes very...
steering on radar course.
A very doom-laden atmosphere towards the end with this cloud. It's great stuff.
5. The engines won't stand it. They won't stand it.
These engines are beginning to show signs of stress.
Oh, no, they're wobbling. The engines are wobbling and smoking. Oh... That's some more good model effects stuff there. I like when engines in this show start doing that. Whoa, and they just blowed up. No more air conditioning for anybody. So, for some reason, the Ocean Pioneer 2 has lasted a bit longer than Ocean Pioneer 1, as they've now they're completely without power. But they're still with us. They haven't exploded yet. But they're running out of air. And everyone on the bridge, I know they're sort of suffering from oxygen loss, but they do look like they're just kind of fed up.
Call International Rescue. It's our last chance. We can't last long without air.
That's why he's the captain. But speaking of people who should have had more to do in these shows, I really like John Tate's voice work on this show. And I think he only did, is it 6 episodes? Maybe 8? and never credited. John Tate, of course, being the father of Nick Tate, a.k.a. Alan Crasham Smasham Carter. But here we go. Thunderbirds are nearly there.
Virgil, I found her. She's drifting off course toward the danger zone. I'm going to try to land on the deck.
I love that. I love Shane Rimmer's delivery of that line. I know he has to sort of over-enunciate it to make himself heard, but it's that, try to land on the deck. It's just such a cool Shane Rimmer sounding line. Scott and John are already in there. I'm not sure what these costumes are, just kind of they're going outside into dangerous mist costumes. Well, I should say uniforms. They don't wear costumes, do they? And luckily, of course, there's a landing platform just behind the bridge on the Ocean Pioneer. So he doesn't have to run all the way along the length of the ship, because that looks like it will probably take him about a mile to get there.
Air supply failed. Over.
Lucky for them, Scott's already on the scene. Yeah, this is the same fire suit from City of Fire, I believe. It's a blue variation of the one that was also in Pit of Peril.
I hope Virgil's not far off.
I don't think they ever explain actually what this mist is. I get the impression that they're assuming it's some kind of poisonous gas.
Terrifying, isn't it?
Which is probably a safe assumption.
This is International Rescue.
If you can hear me, speak in the direction of the lower port bulkhead.
No, he's not going to get a reply. They've all passed out.
Thunderbird 2 calling Ocean Pioneer. Come in, Scott.
I do like as well, going back to the whole thing of this being John's only on-screen rescue, I like the fact that they don't actually make too big a deal of that. It does give the impression that he got more to do off-screen, and, you know, he says that later on. This isn't the first rescue he's been out on.
And Thunderbird 2.
So from his point of view, this would just be another day at the office. This is the kind of thing that can happen when you're at home on Tracy Island and not stuck up in the space station. I also wonder, I can't remember off the top of my head who wrote this. I'm sure the credits will tell me. What the...
Okay, John. On your way.
Right, Virgil. Keep her steady.
Here I go. I'm off on my mission. Yeah, I'm also interested to learn what the sort of... the idea of putting John into a rescue, where that came from. I would have to assume that... Well, we know, legend has it, I should say, that one of the reasons John doesn't get much focus is because Gerry didn't like the puppet and the voice, or both, and insisted he'd be stuck up on the space station. I certainly think there's probably an element of truth in that, and the fact that they also just wanted to associate one brother with each craft. We have 5 brothers, we have 5 craft. But
as soon as John hits the deck, stand well clear till I send for you.
I do wonder if... You know, we're 3 or 4 episodes away from the end of the first series. I just wonder if this episode sort of was snuck in when Gerry wasn't looking. I would love to know if someone actually said, no, we really should give this guy at least one rescue, and Gerry reluctantly went, oh, okay. Or if he was, you know, busy with other things at this point. Who knows? It's one of those things that would be lost to time by now, I should think. But John is now on the deck to assist Scott. Thunderbird 2 looks very nice in the fog, pulling away from the Ocean Pioneer. I would like an Ocean Pioneer model, I think.
How's it coming, Scott?
I'm nearly there, John.
Yes, another slow cutting through the door sequence that Thunderbirds in particular was quite fond of. But I suppose there had to be lots of people trapped behind sealed doors. And of course they never pull it towards them, do they? They always push it inside. To potentially squash anybody who's collapsed on the other side of the door. I think I remember in City of Fire, the father actually collapses in front of the door, and were it not for the fact that he was woken up by the door being cut, he probably would have been squashed when they broke in.
Just look.
Oh, I like the ocean is bubbling and boiling. Oh.
Well, this can only mean one thing. We must be right over the OD 60 now.
Wow. This is an episode as well where I think very seldom do we actually get the fallout from any disasters.
Canada, we might not be around when you get here.
I'm on my way.
I would love to have seen something of the inquiry that went on after the Ocean Pioneer affair.
Can you hear me?
Call.
In particular, seeing that dog food guy in court. We don't know. It's just, a lot of the times, okay, here's a new vehicle, went out of control, bang, okay, that's the end of that. But there are some Thunderbirds episodes where I really want to see what happened after the rescue. I almost want to have like a Thunderbirds world-based lore show that deals with the fallout from all the stuff that happens. Because nobody really seems to care. And in particular, I would just... there's a huge section of the ocean that's covered with this explosive... Well, not explosive gas, but potentially explosive if it gets into your ship gas.
It's what?
And I have the captain as well, though. My ship is about to blow up? How dare it? But that's interesting. The crew are standing outside on the deck with no breathing gear, so... They could have just opened the window and they wouldn't have suffocated. It probably wouldn't have done their lungs much good, but hey-ho.
Pull away, and you make it snappy.
FAB, Scott.
Yep. The Ocean Pioneer crew presumably have climbed up the rope ladder into Thunderbird 2. We don't see that. Now John's going up as well. That just leaves Scott to get back to Thunderbird 1. Oh. And the good old Ocean Pioneer has waited until her crew was gone before it started exploding. And as is nautical tradition, when the ship goes down, the last man off is Scott. The captain... This captain isn't interested in going down with his ship. He's got better things to do. Oh, and I love that this feels like such a big model, so when it finally blows up, it blows up in sections. It's lovely. And then we cut to that long shot just of nothing in the fog, and then that boom. And here's an interesting shot coming up. It always makes me smile, considering that John went down in full protective gear with protective face mask.
No sign of him anywhere.
His face is covered in dirt, and his hair's mussed. I just get the impression that he took off his helmet and was like, "Oh, I've got to give the impression that I was really working hard on this rescue. I better rub some dirt onto my face." Because, as I said, he's wearing a protective mask.
Please, do you read me?
Loud and clear.
He made it.
Okay, let's get out of it. See you back at the base.
And needless to say, Scott does not have a hair out of place, nor any dirt on his face. Because his job is secure, unlike John, who can be dispatched back to the space station at a moment's notice.
Stands for a heck of a lot of capital investment, Scott, and we should have tried towing her out.
Sure. Oh, sure, boy.
But we didn't bring Thunderbird 4.
Would have made it in time.
Who knows? That's all part of the game, isn't it?
No.
And this is a lovely ending, but that's an interesting character bit in John's thinking there.
Well, I guess about a dozen, Father.
He's almost a bit mercenary there. He's thinking of the money, and he's also thinking of it as a game.
Well, we weren't arguing, sir.
No, we were...
But this is one of the greatest moments in the whole series.
For many years now, man has worked to perfect the material things in this world. And he's done pretty well for himself. If a building falls down, he can soon build it up again. With life, it's different. And this is why the object of international rescue will never change. Your job is to save lives that are in danger. And that's how it's going to be. Always. Got it?
It's a wonderful summation of both the show's, essential premise and of that character, of Jeff's philosophy and morality. And there we go. That's the end of Danger at Ocean Deep. But I make no apologies for... I think I have used that clip in multiple videos. Not just on the Gerry Anderson channel. I've used that clip many times over the years, and it's just perfect. That is the whole show in a microcosm, just those few lines. So that it kind of almost makes sitting through that episode worthwhile just for that line. I've got to say, despite the John interest factor, this has never been one of my absolute favourites, or even... teleplay by Donald Robertson. Okay. This has never been sort of even in my top half rankings of the series. This kind of sits, I guess, kind of squarely in the middle, really. It's... a nice premise. It's some interesting plotting with the radio stuff and also with the dog food. What's going to blow up this highly technical piece of machinery this week? Dog food. Okay. It's unfortunately let down by some long sequences of padding in the fog, which is nice and atmospheric. Also some long Thunderbirds launch sequences. So unfortunately, this isn't one of my favourites. It's still good, and it's always nice to see John get down from the space station, really. Wish he could have done that some more, frankly.
Oh, you got a Thunderbird set. There you go.
Now, that's classic right there.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful visuals, stunning visual effects in there from special effects, I should say, from Derek Beddings and team. And yeah, there you go. So if you want nice things, then you should obviously dress in a cream linen suit.
Well, I'm going to from now on. That sounds like a great idea.
That's the message I'm taking away from this randomizer anyway.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great.
So,
well, I look forward to next week.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Podsterons. Make sure you stay cool in this warm weather. Carry a bottle of water with you wherever you go.
Oh, very good idea. Yeah. Just rinse out your clammy ears every now and then.
Absolutely. Just to rinse off those dirty, clammy, sticky ears. Anyway, look, that's all I've got. Have you got any more?
No, I've got nothing else. That's it. I'm spent.
Okay.
I've peaked.
Well, Podsterons, thanks to Richard's peaking. Since you're all a bunch of kooky yo-yos, I'm sure you'll be hashtagging us on Twitter, hashtag Gerry Anderson Podcast, hashtag kooky yo-yos, or you can tweet us directly. I'm Jamie Anderson, him Richard N. James, or him in his cream linen suit, Chris Dalek. Make sure you email us at podcast@gerryanderson.com, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Podsterons, and also leave us a rating on whatever platform you're listening to us to. And that's all. And I'm going a bit crazy with the heat, so it's time to go. Stay cool, thank you. Richard, are you still there?
Well, I mean, I've got nothing else to say.
Brilliant, it's time to go then. See you in Pod 211. Bye!
Bye, you kooky yo-yos.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
I feel like we should replace Mark Silk's tag now at the end. So it's no longer, you've been listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. Wasn't it fun? Goodbye, you kooky yo-yos.
Oh, please, can't we do that? Come on. Mark, I mean, does he listen? You've got his email. Come on, get in touch with him. Just get him to do it on his phone or something.
Well, or we could just take the one that you just said at the end of the podcast there, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, fine. So, why not do that? Makes life
maybe
easier.
Do that? Okay, we'll do that.
I could do it as Terry Wogan. No,
come on then. All right, this is your parting gift to everybody. The fact that you're leaving, and proceed that with your Terry Wogan thing.
All right, here we go. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Ah, you kooky yo-yos, you, eh?
Pretty good. I'm not sure he ever said kooky yo-yos, but if he did, then it would have sounded just like that.
That's how he would have said it. That's right. There you go. That's my gift to you.
Pure brilliance. Well, on that note, time for us to go.
I think so.
Bye, you kooky yo-yo.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.